Good morning, church. I thought I would close today with kind of a unique video because I'll be speaking of a very unique story in the Bible that I think is very applicable for today. I'll be speaking of 2 Kings chapter 6. Maybe some of you have heard this story before. And the story goes something like this. There is the prophet Elisha, and he has a bit of a school there for some other prophets. And it must be somewhat successful because it is growing and the space they're meeting in is a little bit cramped. So they suggest, hey, maybe we should go down near the Jordan and build a bigger place. So Elisha agrees, and also Elisha goes down with them. And the scripture says as one guy was cutting a tree down, it says as he was cutting the tree, the axe head flew off the handle and flew into the water, flew into the Jordan. And I bet when that axe head sank to the bottom, that guy's heart sank as well. Because iron, it was a rare commodity in this day. And not only that, Scripture says that he spoke up and says, this was a borrowed axe. So not only was it a rare commodity that's lost, on top of that, it's borrowed. So this guy is having a really bad day. So Elisha comes up and he asks the guy, says, where did it fall? And the guy points into a general area, and Elijah goes and gets a stick, and then he throws it into the water. And do you remember what happened? This axe head, made of iron, floats. Elisha stood back and told the man, go get your axe. The man reached out, and he grabbed it. And the story ends there. It's a total of 7 verses, and I pretty much just summed up the whole thing. So I read that to you, or I tell you that story this morning, and now I ask, okay, so what does this apply to us today? In Marysville 2020, how can we apply this? What's God speaking to us today in this? Let me bring up some thoughts of my own, and let us think about them. First of all, this guy is having a terrible day, isn't he, when he lost his axe? And I think what we need to see here is God noticed. Think about all the things going on in the world when this happened. Was there anything more important going on than this guy losing an axe in the water? I'm sure there was much more important things going on earth than this guy losing his tool in the water. But yet God noticed. And not only did he notice, he cared. I think we can think about that a little bit and some of the things that we go through. We might think is maybe minimal compared to what other people are going through at a time. But yet God still notices. And God didn't just simply make the axe float. It took 2 people. It took first Elisha to come up and cut a stick. We don't know why he had to cut this stick. Scripture doesn't explain this. It says he went and cut a stick and he threw it in the water, and then it floated. And story's not over there. Now Elisha stands back, and then now the man had to step up and grab the axe head for himself. So it takes 2 parts, doesn't it? Or it takes part on our part as well. God's just not going to do everything for us and serve it to us on a silver platter. Sometimes when we are going through a tough time, He might expect us to stand out on faith and do something. So as we go about this week, I'm thinking of all of the dear members in our church that are going through tough times right now. There's a lot of illnesses cancer, just some tough times going on. The economy is getting pretty poor right now. There's people that have lost their jobs, and just some tough stuff going on, no doubt about it. We can look back at this story and realize, you know what? If God noticed this tool lost into the water and he made things work, do you think he's going to work in today's life? I'm sure that he is. And sometimes God will make iron float, and sometimes he won't, for whatever reason. But when we go through tough times, we have to remember that God does notice it. So think about that this week. I know I sure miss all of you. The farther or more worship Sundays we have not meeting together, I miss it more and more all the time. So I look forward to whenever that day may come, sooner than later, I hope, that we can all gather together and shake each other's hand and just lay our eyes on each other. So miss you all, and just realize that God can make iron float this week. Thanks, guys.